Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Tension mounts in Abonema town in Rivers State as residents flee over alleged killing of a soldier by gunmen. All eyes on the governorship election holding March 9th as governors groups mobilize voters for the exercise. Our special report tonight is on disaster management. And students in Algeria protest against 82-year-old President Abdelaziz Bouteflika's plans to run for the 5th term in office. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you. And on YouTube.com/channelsweb, you can watch our videos. Watch us live on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app have an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos, and news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. It's just a few days to the governorship election, and political parties are pulling their weight to generate enough votes for the respective candidates. In Enugu and Kwara states, supporters of the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party have been given reasons why they should win the elections.
The electorate in Enugu State will soon be making their choice on who the governor for the new term will be. And for the incumbent governor, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, he's hoping to convince the people of the need for him to have a second term in office. He makes several stops on his campaign trail. From New Market to 9th Mile Corner, he finds supporters in Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu and Frank Weke Jr., who encourage voters to do likewise in the native language.
Make it a duty and come out early. If we want the governor to win, we must show solidarity and support on election day. I assure you that security arrangements have been made and nobody will be intimidated or molested.
The man who will be governor a second time also solicits support.
I'm appealing to you to come out early and vote PDP with the umbrella symbol. I promise all of you that if re-elected, you'll witness massive development in your community.
The All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party in Kwara State are also trying to convince voters why their respective candidates are the right ones. At a press conference in Ilori, leaders in Kwara North are supporting the ambition of the PDP candidate, Razak Atunwa, to give priority to Kwara North in the principle of rotation.
It is a known fact that the APC's candidate for the election, Alhaji Abdulrahman, will stop at nothing to spend the maximum 8 years in office if elected as state governor. It is on this premise that we call on all Kwara Northerners to support and vote for Atunwa, who had graciously agreed to spend a single term of 4 years.
Members of the All Progressives Congress paid a visit to the elders of the party in Kwara State, not only to commemorate their victory at the presidential and National Assembly elections, but also to urge the people to vote for the APC in the governorship elections.
I want Kwarans to troop out, just like they did in the last election, to vote for Abdulrahman Abdulrazak to make sure he becomes the governor of Kwara State, because we believe in him and all our candidates for the House of Assembly.
As the political parties continue to highlight the importance of the March 9th governorship elections, voters across the country are being urged to make an informed choice of their preferred candidates for the elections.
In Nasarawa State, some residents have reeled out their demands for governorship candidates. For many of them, only those who will serve their interests and provide their essential needs should expect the votes of the people. The candidates themselves have also been wooing voters ahead of Saturday's election. Our correspondent Halima Gayam reports.
The countdown to the governorship and state houses of assembly elections begins with less than 1 week to the polls, while political parties and their candidates are intensifying campaigns to solicit the support of voters. The electorates in Nasarawa State are also not relenting in making their demands known.
We will vote for people that will assist the farmers to get small machines, because 80% of the farmers in Nasarawa State are small-scale farmers.
We want a candidate who will try to make the youth to be part of his policies and programs, unlike before as it used to be.
Any gubernatorial candidate that have us in mind, women will vote him massively.
Any person who become the governor of Nasarawa State to put effort in our education sector.
As the governorship candidates share their thoughts on areas they consider important if given the mandate, the candidate for the All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABGA, with the former Minister of Information, Mr. Labaran Mako, pledges to revitalize the civil service.
When we come to power, we are going to address the issues of salaries in percentages, no gratuities, no pensions. We are going to deal with those issues, but more so, we are going to train workers and refocus the civil service.
Engineer Abdullah Isile is the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. According to him, his agenda will be anchored on industrialization.
Industrialization is going to go in all areas, in the area of our own solid minerals development, in areas of the oil and gas development that we mentioned, in areas also that we kept mentioning of small-scale industries, empowerment of women, empowerment of the youth, and the rest of that.
For the PDP candidate, David Ombogadu, who is a federal representative for Wamba, Akwanga and Nasarawa Egon, achieving a new Nasarawa will be his focus.
It's a dream of everybody in Nasarawa State to see a new Nasarawa State. And that is why popular in our agenda is a new Nasarawa State. A Nasarawa State that will service the civil service. A Nasarawa State that a civil servant in Nasarawa State will comfortably be sure that indeed we have a government that is working.
As the people prepare for the governorship and state houses of assembly polls slated for March the 9th, it is evident that their support will be for candidates who they believe have the capacity and experience to meet their demands. Halima Gayam, Channels Television News.
Well, you can't have elections without the numbers. Let's bring in the numbers man, Channels TV's in-house data information consultant, Babajide Oguso. Well, thanks for joining us tonight.
For me, it's always great to be here.
Yeah, and you've been calculating a lot recently. So the results of the presidential election reveals voter turnout was less than 50% to our dismay in many states. So how much progress have we made in the presidential electoral system?
I hope we'll have enough time to answer all these questions. We've made some progress, but again, progress depends on how you want to measure it. Listen carefully to these three things. What was voter turnout 4 decades ago? I'm talking about 1979 during the presidential election. You had 16.8 million people that came out to cast their votes. Well, it was 16.8 million out of 37 million eligible voters. In other words, 1 out of 2 that were eligible to vote came out to vote in 1979. Let's fast forward 40 years after. 2 weeks ago, we had the presidential election. 27 million people came out to vote, but that was out of 103 million eligible Nigerians. In simple terms, Amachi, it means that only 1 out of 4 eligible Nigerians came out to vote. Compare that to 4 decades ago when 1 out of 2 eligible Nigerians voted. So if we look at it in that perspective, we see that we are not making too much progress, and that is the evidence we have today.
Yeah, I would have asked if voter apathy may have had anything to do with it, but Saturday's elections are coming up. You have your expectations. What are they?
I'm hoping we're able to improve voter turnout during this governorship election. But we need to keep an eye on 7 states that there will be no governorship elections. Now, if you look at the Southwest, we're not going to have governorship elections in Ondo, Osun, and Ekiti State. If you look at the South-South, there will be no governorship election in Edo State and Bayelsa State. If we look at the Southeast, there will be no election in Anambra State. And across the 19 states in the North, the only state where we will not have governorship election will be in Kogi State. So the expectation is, even though we are not going to be having governorship elections in these 7 states, in the other 29 states, the community and ward leaders start doing more door-to-door canvassing, not necessarily to canvass for a political party, but ward leaders now have to be able to canvass people to come out to vote using door-to-door campaign. We also expect that INEC should make use of voter participation ambassadors. I'll give you an instance. You remember when INEC sent that tweet 3 weeks ago that elections were not going to be cancelled? If an artist, for instance, like Wizkid or Davido, that has 3 times the number of followers INEC has, that message will get around faster than if INEC relies on just itself and some of its other ambassadors. So we need to also be able to look at INEC encouraging and getting more voter participation ambassadors that will be part of this process for Saturday.
And hopefully those ambassadors will vote on election day.
Hopefully those ambassadors will vote, but we also need to now also keep an eye. Yes, one of our eyes should be on those 7 states that there will be no elections, but we also need to keep an eye on those 10 states.
But why do we need to keep an eye on those states where there will be no elections?
Because those states are within zones that potentially have low voter turnout. So possibly there could be a contagion effect, whereby because there will be no elections in those states, there could be poorer voter turnout within that zone. So we have one eye on those 7 states that we will not have governorship elections, and we expect that INEC also does a lot more within those zones, and then we then have those 10 states that whatever happens, we are guaranteed to have new governors. Now, those states are the states that not just INEC, but the security agencies need to focus on those states. Well, now, what are these states? If you look at the Southwest, it is guaranteed, Amachi, that there will be new governors in Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo. If you look at the Southeast, it is guaranteed that Imo State will have a new governor. Now, those 2 zones will be keenly contested. In the Northwest, Zamfara is guaranteed to have a new governor. In the North Central, Kwara, Nasarawa State guaranteed to have a new governor. And in the Northeast, especially because of all the security concerns there are 3 states that are guaranteed as well to have new governors: Borno, Gombe, and Yobe State. So while we have one eye on those 7 states and those zones that there will be no governorship election, we need to keep our eyes open on those 10 states that are guaranteed to have new governors, because those states potentially could be violent. Those 10 states potentially could be trouble zones. Those 10 states will be keenly contested. And clearly, the security agencies and the electoral management body has to be more prepared to manage events within those 10 states.
And that will be your advice for them on Saturday, right?
Oh, yeah, that'll be my advice. That certainly will be it. But let's remember that if we do not vote, we lose the right to complain. That was what was said by a wise man. And so, wherever you are, you need to come out to vote, because your vote is your right to complain.
Babajide, thank you so much. Hopefully we won't complain, or rather we'll have rights to vote, to complain next week after
Whatever
the elections.
happens, you have to vote as well.
Don't forget to go out and vote on Saturday. Thanks
Saturday.
again for joining us on the news at 10. Moving on, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has dragged the federal government and state governments to the ECOWAS Court of Justice in Abuja over what it describes as attacks on journalists. In a statement, the organization is accusing the government of frequent and repressive application of the Cybercrime Act. According to the statement, the act unfairly targets anyone found publishing views or facts perceived to be critical of the government at the federal and state levels, as well as government officials. In the suit, SERAP insists, quote, the federal government and several state governments and their agents have trampled on the rights to freedom of expression and information of bloggers, journalists, activists, and social media users through the repressive use and implementation of the vaguely worded provisions of the Cybercrime Act. End of quote. A suit filed on SERAP's behalf by its lawyer, Femi Falana, raises a fundamental question of whether or not the 2 tiers of government, by using and applying the Cybercrime Act and other similar laws, violate the rights to freedom of expression and access to information. The suit also details reasons that point to a violation of international freedom of expression laws and makes demands for redress, but no date has been fixed for the hearing of the suit. When the News at 10 returns, Kogi State Governor signs 2019 budget, promises massive infrastructure to the people. Join us again.